only in America.
Right, only in America. I agree, absolutely. I remember thinking and saying that America is where great things are possible, more than any other country in the world. It's a little cliche, but it's true. America is the land of opportunity. I told my parents I was going to Canada, and they tried to convince me not to leave. I really wanted to just kind of go where the really exciting breakthroughs were occurring. I didn't even go to class. I called the chairman of the department and said, I'd like to try starting this internet company. It probably won't succeed. And so when it fails, I want to make sure that I can still come back. My brother was in Canada at the time, and I said, look, I think we should try to create an internet company. So he came down and joined me. And the United States is also a great melting pot of different cultures and ideas and thoughts. And it's a country which tends to encourage success, where you sort of see someone that did extremely well, and generally the reaction in the United States is good for that person. In most countries, it may shock people in the United States. In most countries, that's not the reaction. People tend to think, oh, that person did well because they screwed somebody else, or they try to rise beyond their station. That was really inappropriate of them to be so nouveau riche, to use a French word. And so that, and Australia, for example, which is arguably similar to the United States in a lot of ways, but they tend to try to knock down people that have risen too high. They call it the tall poppy syndrome. Tall poppies get chopped. So I think that's really a good thing about the United States. My grandfather was actually American from Minnesota, and my mom was born in Canada. So I do have some American background. In fact, a lot of people think like my name must be from some exotic location, but I was named after my great grandfather, who was from Minneapolis, or actually St. Paul, I should say. And he was like a school superintendent and part-time sheriff in 1900, and I was named after him. So I'm actually from Africa, named after my American ancestor.
From the Midwest,
yeah,
of all places.
Right.
What took your family to South Africa?
My grandfather moved with all his kids and my mom and everyone to South Africa because he wanted to use it as a base of exploration. So he had this little plane that he liked to fly all over the place, and he flew it all through Africa and Asia, and he was the first person to fly from South Africa to Australia. And he did this in a plane with no electronic instruments, and in some places they had diesel, in some places they had gasoline, and he had to rebuild the engine according to whatever fuel they had. So it's lucky he survived on that one. But he was sort of an amateur archaeologist. He liked to explore things.
Just for exploration, just a quest for curiosity. Seems to run in the family.
Yeah, I guess so. It seemed like the vast majority of such things came from the United States. I also read a lot of comic books, and they all seem to be set in the United States. So it's like, well, this is a good place. This is where I gotta go to this place.
Yeah, but then you were in Southern Africa. So how did you decide to leave your hometown and realize your dream in North America?
So, I should say that, when I was a kid, I didn't really have any grand designs. The reason I started programming computers is because I like computer games. And I play lots of computer games, and I learned that if I wrote software and sold it, then I could get more money and buy better computers. So it wasn't really, with some grand vision or anything. When I was growing up, I'd read lots of books, and they were very often set in the United States, and it seemed like a lot of new technology was being developed in the United States. So I thought, okay, I really want to work on new technology, so I want to get to Silicon Valley. Which when I was growing up, Silicon Valley seemed like some sort of mythical place, like Mount Olympus or something.
So when you thought about the Silicon Valley, you were still in South Africa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you were still in your teenager time.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I tried at first to convince my parents to move to the US, but neither of them would move. They were divorced, and so eventually I was able to get my Canadian citizenship because my mom had been born in Canada. So I moved first to Canada by myself when I was 17, and then a few years later I moved to the US.
So then you decided to go to Stanford, go to Silicon Valley after you graduate, right?
Yeah. The reason I came out to Stanford was actually to work on energy storage technologies for electric cars. That summer of '95, I was looking at the internet, and it seemed to me like the internet was going to have a big effect on humanity. So I thought, well, I can either work on electric vehicle technology and do my PhD at Stanford and watch the internet get built, or I could put my studies on hold and try to be part of the internet. And at first I tried to get a job at Netscape because that was the only internet company. And they didn't respond to me. So then I was like, okay, if I can't get a job at the only internet company, then I better try starting something. But I spoke to my professor and I said, look, I'm going to try starting a company. It's probably not going to succeed. And if it doesn't succeed, can I come back? And he said, sure, no problem. And so I put my studies on hold and started the company.
There's a tremendous amount of will in the American population, particularly to explore. The United States, maybe more than any other country, is a distillation of the human spirit of exploration, and it's really fundamental to psyche. So, if people think there's a way, I think it would actually get a lot of support. But it can't be just banging your head against the wall. I've got to believe that this can be done without breaking the federal budget. So that's when I said, okay, well, is there some way to affect the cost of space transport? And so I got together with a group of people over a series of Saturdays just to try to understand, is there something fundamentally super expensive about rockets, or can the cost be substantially improved? We had a bunch of those kind of brainstorming sessions, and I couldn't see any fundamental obstacle to improving the cost of rockets. So that's when I started SpaceX.
SpaceX is about helping make life multiplanetary and doing what we can to continue the dream of Apollo and ultimately make a contribution to life becoming multiplanetary. That's exciting.
It is exciting. So what's your vision there?
I think, particularly for Americans, like think about America is a nation of explorers. People came here from other parts of the world that, chose to give up the known in favor of the unknown. So I think exploration, I think the United States is a distillation of the human spirit of exploration. So that's why it appeals to Americans so much. You can see this when, say, there was a shuttle tragedy, and 7 people died. And that's terrible, but, a lot of people die all the time. But why do we care so much? Because it was the dream of exploration that was dying along with those people. That's why.